And I'm going to do the live custom streaming and broadcast. There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Messages of Inspiration and Hope show is proudly brought to you by the good guys at speakerspathway.com and the 6-minute webinar. But before I share the 6-minute webinar with you and also the Speaker's Pathway, where we have a free gift, and I'm also going to give you a free gift, is it okay if I share with you that this show has really blessed a lot of people? And we've actually been invited and we've accepted to be on E as an Echo E360 TV, a streaming live stream show. It's going to be starting the second week of November. We're going to have guests on there, including a special VIP guest on Thursdays. Going to be broadcasting 4 days a week on the Messages of Inspiration and Hope show. Plus on Friday, we're going to have a special show about everyday people. We're very excited about that. This will give people in small communities a chance to be able to be recognized for their contribution to society, because in this day and time, we've got all these people who are showing the ugliness and the meanness of mankind. We need to show people who are sharing love, who care for others, most importantly, give back to their community. But let me share my screen right quickly and show you a couple of things about Speaker's Pathway. Let me get there. Oh, here we go. This is our homepage, speakerspathway.com. I've got a bar here in the way. No wonder I couldn't see it. Okay. And if you notice here, this is the 6 keys. Let me just click on that and I'll open up in just a moment here. This is the 6 keys to a powerful webinar. This is one of the things that generated from the Messages of Inspiration and Hope show, but this is Don McGrath's free gift to you. You can go there and download it for free. He'll give you some pointers on the right audience, the problem that you solve, the promise that you make, how you can show value, your call to action. And since it's only 6 minutes or less long, you can definitely keep people to the very end, which is critical. And the 6 keys to webinars it sells, he gives some pointers here about the right audience, as you can see as we scroll on down here. In addition to that, what problem do you solve? You got to be very clear and state the problem that you solve so people can understand it. And your promise, it's got to be an honest, straightforward promise from you to them. You got to be able to show value, why they should even trust you, and then do a call to action, and then to keep them to the very end. This is all yours. It's available. You can download it here at the speakerspathway.com. And as I mentioned, we're also the 6-minute webinar. Oh my goodness gracious. If you'd like to have something that sells without you saying one word, the 6-minute webinar is for you. We're going to be having another boot camp coming up on Saturday, October the 24th. I don't know if I didn't check this link here, but they're getting the link ready this week. You can register there, I think. If not, October 24th on a Saturday. It's a 3-hour boot camp. And you will have this is a working boot camp. As you can see, you can register Dave and secure your spot for $99. That's for 3 hours. This is a hands-on working boot camp for 3 hours. You'll be able to follow step by step by step exactly how to create your own 6-minute webinar. This is one of the most powerful tools I've ever seen, ladies and gentlemen. And let me be very honest with you. When I'm part of the 6-minute webinar. It was co-created by Don McGrath and Mr. Bill Heinrich. And Don and I were founders here at Speakers Pathway Coalition. And Bill Heinrich is one of our executive training directors. So we're all in one big group there when they shared it with me and I started working on it. My biggest problem, since I'm a speaker and since I'm an infotainer on the radio and going to be on the TV, I have a trouble about stop telling. We have a tendency to tell and tell and tell, and we want to hit them with, everything. It's just our nature, right? But a person who is looking at a 6-minute webinar, they want to know one thing. What can you do for me? What problem do you solve? How am I going to get from where I am to where I want to be? And what's this going to cost me? You know, that's what they want. They don't want to hear all these, studies and all this other stuff and yak, yak, yak. They want to know, are you a right fit for them? That's what the 6-minute webinar does. And we've got a lovely young lady here on, she's going to be talking to us about the standing in strength. We had a great conversation with her. Let me turn on the camera here. Well, unmute her too. Unmute. I'm going to send you a request. Turn your video on, Larnie. Her name is Larnie Mulvey. There we go. Let me cancel the spotlight video. And let me do the gallery view. Okay, there she is. You're up there in the very hot city in the winter, named as Chicago, right? She actually told me that she loves cold weather. When the colder it gets, she goes outside. She's got shorts on, tank top or whatever. I mean, she just loves the cold weather.
I do.
And I look more like a polar bear or wrapped up in fur or something, How long have you been living in Chicago?
I have lived in the Chicagoland area all my life. So when I moved here to the States, Chicago, Southside Chicago is where I landed,
Mm-hmm.
and then just have been in the Western Chicagoland suburbs all my life.
Wow. So that's home. That's what you knew as home.
That's home, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your family came from the Philippines, you were saying. And of course, my son-in-law, his family's from Philippines. So we got that connection there. It's I really appreciate the families and everything. I love the way that family is very, very important for them. I love that. It's very important to them. And you're going to be talking to us today about standing in strength. And you were saying before the show, you're a power lifter, huh?
I am a power lifter. I've only been doing it for a year competitively, but it's something that I've been wanting to do since 1999. I've wanted to compete in something since 1999, but with just how I grew up, it wasn't normal for a small little Asian girl to want to be a power lifter.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Plus, her being a small little Asian girl, she can probably put a lot of guys I know, and probably including me, to shame when it comes to powerlifting. I can tell you that now, because in the morning, if I can, balance my coffee cup, and then after that, my water and whatever I'm drinking, and not spill it, I consider that a good day.
Yeah.
But you're going to be speaking to us today about standing in strength, and your message is for ladies. Is that correct?
Yes. It is. It's an empowerment movement that I just started, but it's become a passion of mine to let women understand that they have a power in their strength, and not just in their physical sense, but in their mental sense. So I've taught myself a little bit of mind strength coaching and learning from other women, other strong women, it's become something like really special to me to build a lot of these women up, because they don't know, like they don't know how strong they are.
Oh yeah.
And like we were talking earlier, like growing up as an Asian woman in the States and being almost like culturally told to just be quiet, assimilate with the US, and it was hard for me. It was hard for me to find who I was, and it's taken me almost like 20 something years to figure it out. But now that I'm at this level, I want to share how I got here. I want to share.
Oh yeah, because I like that, because as I'm listening to you, it's kind of like, sometimes where you stand depends on where you've been forced to sit, and now you not only came out of that shell, you're lifting weights and doing That's really amazing. Let me do a couple things. Let me give you the spotlight, and then I want to mute my mic and shut off my video, and the stage is yours.
Awesome. So thank you for having me on here. I really appreciate it. And I'm very grateful to be able to share my message of standing in strength with everyone that's listening. The purpose of Standing in Strength is understanding that you have the power. You have the power within yourself, understanding the power, the strength that you have. So when it comes to why I came to this portion of my life. So as I said, I grew up in the Philippines and I moved to the States when I was 5. And when I was in the Philippines, it was very free. You know, I'm a no shoes kind of person. Till this day, I don't like wearing shoes. But as I moved to the States, all these restrictions were starting to be put upon me because growing up in the South Side of Chicago, it's, you know, they don't really, my grandparents, my family lived with my grandparents, and it was something that, you know, we're a protective family. And I loved that about my family, very protective. That's why I'm still alive today. But the first restriction I ever felt put upon me was when I got here to the States, my grandma gave me shoes. And when she gave me these shoes, I was like, what are these? You know, like I'm used to wearing like flip-flops or something like that. And those are those restrictions that started kind of compounding to who I was. And I started feeling that I couldn't test the waters. I couldn't try anything. I couldn't figure out who I was after all those years growing up in the city and then growing up in the suburbs. And it really hurt me to the point where I was really depressed. And it was like you get to the point where you feel held back all the time. And that is where that held back feeling put me in almost like a downward spiral. Like I didn't know who I was. And so I was very rebellious. I tried to kill myself twice in high school. And I was a cutter. I was so upset about not knowing who I was and not being the athlete that I wanted to be. So I was upset and depressed. So as I got older and started trying to figure out who I was and started figuring out my path, I was introduced to fitness. And fitness was the closest thing I could be to an athlete. In high school, I wasn't allowed to be an athlete. Grew up in that strict household, and with that, I tried trying out for a dance team, and my dad came and plucked me out of the tryout. And again, that compounding feeling of not finding myself, of being held back, started accumulating more and more. And that really hurt my confidence. And it really hurt the person I was inside because I knew my capabilities. I knew what I can do. I knew I was a strong person. So the years passed by and I'm still trying to find myself. So in my 20s, I was introduced to heavier weight. And I was actually working out with a gentleman I was dating back then. And he told me that he's like, you know what, Larnie, you need to stop. You need to stop working out like this because you're starting to lift more than me. And so he got upset that I was lifting more than him. But that comment that he said to me planted that seed of self-doubt in my head. I let somebody place that seed of self-doubt in my mind, and it affected me throughout my 20s. It really defeated my confidence even more as I was trying to grow my confidence. That one seed dropped me down a few notches, and I could not find myself again. So around 1999, I was like, you know what? I want to compete in something. Even whatever that guy's, I want to compete in something. And he dashed my hopes. This guy dashed my hopes. But again, years passed by, and I actually, I went to school for sports medicine. So I was surrounded by athletes. I filled the expectations of my family being in the medical field. But again, where was I? Where was my strength? And my confidence, again, was still not where I wanted it to be. And also looking back, growing up, there wasn't one person, there wasn't one celebrity or someone like that that I really looked up to or I wanted to be. So I started thinking in the past maybe like 2-3 years, like I really want to build that person that I've always thought that somebody else could look up to, because it's something that I didn't see. And so I decided that I needed to build that person that people can look up to as well, that didn't have that kind of grew up the same as me. So I ended up just last year, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a powerlifting meet. I'm going to try to do powerlifting. I made the decision to look for a coach. I decided to make sure that I found a coach that was going to help me achieve my powerlifting dream. And after a few months, I ended up finding a coach that helped me compete for the first time in November of 2019. And it was the best decision I've ever made. And within that time frame, I learned so much about powerlifting and how the lessons in powerlifting have intertwined with my life to build my confidence and to land me to where I'm at today. It's amazing. And I'm not here to like talk about powerlifting and how to do it. That's somebody else's job. I mean, I'm here to talk about like how the lessons of life and powerlifting kind of intertwined. And I developed a course. It's called Tools of Strength, and it takes you through a lot of interpersonal work. It starts off with developing your internal perspective, understanding who you are, understanding, like for me, it was like I had to really dig deep and say, what is holding me back? What are the feelings of holding me back? Is it the standards I was taught growing up? Was it the cultural expectations I had growing up? So I really had to take that internal perspective and understand why I was kind of feeling that way. And then it takes you through a journey. The second part of the program, it takes you through a self-acknowledgement, almost like understanding of accepting yourself and knowing that there are things that have happened in your life, you learn from them, and you have to either let those lessons, all lessons can be good or lessons are bad, but there's always a lesson to learn. And you can either accept those lessons and keep you held back, or accept the lessons, learn from them, and move forward. It's interesting to have all these self-acknowledgement tools that are useful. Like, what are you saying to yourself in the morning? I really connect with, what is your strong mind, able body? Having the strong mind and having that able body, it connects with your heart. And whatever you feel and whatever you say to yourself, all these things can connect and you can hear it. Your body hears what you're saying out loud. So knowing what your body's language, and I'm not talking about like standing like this and like, poo poo, body's language. Like, are you saying great things to yourself in the morning? Are you saying how awesome you are every day? So having that positive connection to yourself is going to be helpful to build that strength foundation. And then the last part of the Tools of Strength program is just the community part, the positive movement part of the program. This is like the best part of the program, because once you build a little bit of confidence, the next part is taking your positivity and putting it into action and helping out your neighbor, the environment, something in the community that is going to be helpful. We need as much positive influence in the community as possible, and action is part of the movement for the community. So when I think about standing in strength, it also talks about connecting with other people that have a network that's going to support you, that is going to build you up as much as you can. Because when you're thinking about your inner circle, when you're doing your inner perspective, it's like, who are you letting in your inner circle? And knowing that, are these people going to be your cheerleaders? So you want to have that positivity, plant that positive seed to your next person, to the next person, so we can build a whole positivity forest. And I highly believe that it doesn't stop with me. The positivity seed doesn't stop with me. It starts with you. It starts with the next person. And I want to empower all these women who feel that they're being held back and they don't know what to say. Let me help you build your voice. Every woman, every person has a voice. It's just, how do you use it? How do you use it? And I believe that if you build yourself up, build your confidence, it's going to be right there and it's going to help you out. Okay. So if you are interested in talking with me about the Tools of Strength program after this program, you can email me at larnymulvey@gmail.com, or you can go onto my website and schedule an appointment with me. It's larnymulvey.com. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And I'm so grateful for everything that's been given to me through this program. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Wow, thank you, young lady. I tell you right now, it just really made an impression on me how, you were saying that you were dating a fellow and a boyfriend, and you started out lifting him, and he said he wanted you to quit.
Yeah. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He thought that it was too much.
Oh my goodness gracious. In life, anytime that you're working with someone or you're associated with someone and they want to hold you back or whatever, they're the wrong people to be around, period.
Yes.
And I've, I've been an employer and I've also been an employee, and I've been on both sides of the street there when it's time to move on. And a real employer will, graciously accept the fact that you're advancing and going on. They wish you well,
Yeah.
because when you help other people grow, you grow too. And when
Exactly.
you pull people down, guess what happens to you?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Same thing. I don't know what it is about that, but it reminded me a little bit of a story that I've always admired during the Depression, when times get tough, and they were very tough during the Depression. I wasn't around then. A lot of people think I was, but that was about 20 minutes before I was born. But there was a couple that lost their job, and they had a dream, they had a passion. Their name was O.D. He went by his initial. O as in Oscar, D as in Delta. His wife, Ruth McKee, and they had the passion in their heart to be bakers, and they wanted to have a bakery. And they drove around in their, I believe it was a 1928 Whippet car. And they were driving around in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and they were selling cakes out of the trunk of their car for 5 cents each.
Okay.
She would make the cakes and she would sell the cakes. And on one hand, you would think during the Depression, people unemployed and all that, who would have a nickel for a cake? But they did not let that stop them. That was a very negative thing, just like you didn't let negative things stop you. That was an obstacle, but okay, there's another door over here. So they knew people would enjoy the cakes.
Exactly.
They kept on and they worked very hard at it. They believed in their dream. They bought a bakery, and then they advanced from that and they moved down to Charlotte and bought a bigger bakery and just kept going. And you may have heard of their business. I forget what the parent company is, but on the grocery shelves, you will see a little desserts called Little Debbie's.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
It really is. And it shows you what can be done when someone believes in themselves. And, you know, I admire you, Larnie, for believing in yourself. And as soon as that guy says, hey, you shouldn't be lifting weights, you says, okay, next. Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very, very important because in this world, the more you give to people, the more you get in return. And I just got to give a shout out to all of the wonderful speakers we've had here on the Message of Inspiration and Hope show, because their passion of giving in their hour of need, because we started this on the 23rd of March. We got Fred with us. I'll be with Fred in just a few minutes. He's going to be our next speaker. We started this on the 23rd of March. That was on a Monday. And the Wednesday before, we had an executive team meeting. Me and Don met with the executive training directors on how we can give back during this pandemic. And it was Mr. Bill Heinrich said, let's just put on we went a lot of speakers. Let's just put on webinars of inspiration and hope. And that's what we did. And this thing migrated. It became its own heartbeat. And I had the privilege of hosting the show Monday through Thursday. And on Friday, I had to do the radio show. And Don jumped in and became the host. But starting next month, the second week in November, we have been invited and we're going to be part of the E360 TV, streaming TV. We'll be streaming live to multiple places, including Roku, Amazon Fire, and just all over the place. I mean, we're on about 9 or 10 different platforms broadcasting at the same time. So we're very honored for that. But the reason that came about is because we had great speakers like Larnie and like Fred's going to be with us in just a moment. He's already here. They shared their message of inspiration and hope from the heart. And when you want to get ahead, you look for ways to help people from the heart, how to help them. That's when the doors will open to you. And I really like your message, Larnie, the fact that don't look at the obstacles, look for the open doors. And that's what you did. You've demonstrated that, haven't you?
Yes, exactly. That's why I'm powerlifting. It's something that I was told I couldn't do, but I'm doing it anyway.
I hear you. Well, before I bring Fred on, and would you be kind enough to give your website and how people can get in touch with you, please?
Sure. My website is just larniemulvey.com. So LAARNIMULVEY.com. You got to make sure you put the 2 ways. People always forget the 2 ways. So it's 2 ways, larniemulvey.com. And there's the information for like signing up for the course and things like that on that website.
Great. Well, we're going to be looking forward to having Fred on. He's going to be talking to us about the narrative of transforming the narrative of mental illness. And I didn't get a chance to write down everything else because it was limited on the screen. But let me give Fred cut on his mic and bring him, ask him to turn. Whoops, I got the other thing here. I like having, there we go. Hey, Fred, how you doing, sir?
Good morning, Larnie. Thank you for letting me share the last few minutes of your talk. Really great to be on the stage with you on this virtual stage. And Jim, thanks for having me on. It's really great to be here.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to have you here because, like I told Larnie and all the other great guests we've had on there, great speakers. I mean, you guys make the show. I miss the host. I miss sitting here just drinking coffee and trying, hopefully, say something intelligent.
I have my own little podcast, and isn't it just exciting? All you have to do is just kind of sit there and be interested in the person, and they run the show, and you get some sort of credit for having that be the case.
Yeah, I know. For some reason, people think I'm overly intelligent, and I'm like, when did that happen? I never got the memo on that one.
That funny.
But Fred, today, I got a part of your message here. You're going to be speaking to us about the narrative of mental illness. Would you fill us in more on your topic, please?
Sure. So, my name is Dr. Fred Moss, and I'm a psychiatrist. I'm a psychiatrist, conventionally trained psychiatrist. I went to medical school from 1984 to 1988 at Northwestern University in beautiful Chicago, Illinois. Yay. And Before that was a childcare worker. And before that, I was a college dropout. And so really what happened is I dropped out of the University of Michigan in 1980 and promised that I would never come back to college again. So I got a job as a childcare worker and started doing that and started really learning that creativity, communication, connection, self-expression, just being with other people was the real pathway to, fundamental healing. And I was just having fun as a childcare worker, and I decided that I didn't like the way doctors were treating the kids. So that my only pathway to actually make a difference in that would find a way to bite the bullet and come back to school and be a doctor and actually do it right. So that's what I did. I mean, retrospectively, as I went back and finished my degree in Detroit and then got accepted to medical school in Chicago. And since that time, I've basically been a childcare worker with an MD degree and really found myself doing psychiatry all over first of all, in Cincinnati, I had a big rip-roaring practice and then raised my family there. And then I started going around the country and being a psychiatrist in multiple different areas of the country as a locum tenens. And then, Jim, I started going around the world and being a psychiatrist on a world scale and really seeing how mental illness, this notion of mental illness or this notion of mental health is dealt with in various corners of our very vast planet. And the truth is, there's nothing inherently true about any of this. And different spaces treat different conditions or different presentations as being ill or gifted, as being normal, abnormal, as needing to be institutionalized versus elected, whatever. And we really just have a new way of looking at mental illness.
Also, too, the one thing that I've always frowned upon, because I've been associated with folks that, in fact, my son-in-law, he had a brain condition recognized as chronic traumatic encephalopathy that he received from several injuries, concussions to his brain. And he's the one we lost in 2013. But my point is, putting people in a box, that's the one thing that we do as society. But you did say one thing that I've always been curious about. You said at one time you were a college dropout. Did you get the memo on when there's going to be the next reunion for that one?
Right. That's a really good one. I eventually went back and did get my degree, even a couple of degrees. I know. I really did. I really enjoyed my life when I made that decision.
I was just poking a little fun at you there since, we have one thing in common, It's kind of like I tell people when I went in the Army, I got discharged from the draft in 1968. And I wanted to go to a school because my dad says, get a school. And I thought, well, I'll go to Germany. That sounds a lot better than Vietnam, especially in 1968.
Sure.
So I'm sitting there. I took the ASVAB test and the sergeant's reading all the stuff to me I can take. And I don't have a clue what he's talking about. Like he says, a Mark 69 van, VHF. And I'm going, okay, I'm just a country boy from North Carolina. I mean, I don't got a clue. And he finally looked at me and he said, well, listen, you tested very high on your ASVAB test. He says, you can take anything from accounting to a welding. I'm going, okay. But I mean, I still didn't know. And then I tell the joke that I says, he looked at the list again. Except for one one thing here, correction. You will never have anything to do with intelligence.
That's funny. That's right. We can know that for sure.
Yeah, we're having a lot of fun here, but Fred, I'm cutting into your time. Let me do a couple things here. Let me mute my mic. Well, I also need to do, I'm going to cut off your video there, Larnie. And Fred, I need to give you the spotlight there, sir.
Okay.
I got to do all these techie stuff behind the scenes. And let me cut off my video and mute my mic. And sir, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's a real opportunity to be with you here, Jim. And I know that I have a few minutes to discuss something that I'm very passionate about. And that is this notion of transforming, like literally transforming the narrative of mental illness. And that's my commitment and dedication to the world around me. So we're going to start a little bit with just, to put this into just a few minutes. It's a condition that's affecting the world at a global scale. I mean, really all over the planet, not just in our particular neighborhood or our particular society or country, but really all over the world. One of the hottest topics is this notion of mental illness and how to, or if to, or when to treat it. So, this idea is that what really is mental illness? And that's the question that as a psychiatrist now for a little more than 30 years, and having been in the mental health field for a little more than 40 years now, I've been asking myself the whole time. So here's the deal, Jim. Mental illness is simply a conversation. Now, I don't mean to disrupt anybody who's pretty certain that they have mental illness. And I don't mean to downplay any of the conditions or any of the experiences that people are having. But the truth is, mental illness, just like anything else, gets its roots from just being a conversation. And once we treat something as simply a conversation, and one that is designed by the words that we choose to describe it, we can also see that the opportunity exists to transform the way we speak about something and therefore give it a new identity altogether. So let's make it clear that uncomfortable experiences actually really do occur. I mean, let's make it clear. There are things going on in the world that are unacceptable, and there are people who are doing things that are essentially heinous or intolerable. There are experiences going on in life that are really hard to metabolize, and I'm not discounting any of those. What I am possibly saying, however, is it doesn't leave anyone pathologically ill, that all experiences that we have maybe inherently don't represent illness. Another way to look at this, Jim, is that being satisfied with the way things are going is not synonymous with being mentally healthy. Being happy really does require a shift in being, a shift in mindset, a paradigmatic shift in context. So being uncomfortable, said another way, being uncomfortable is not synonymous with being unhealthy. Being uncomfortable maybe even is a sign that you are very healthy. Because after all, there's many, many good reasons to be uncomfortable with the state of affairs on the international level, on the national level, on the local level, even on the internal level. So being uncomfortable might be the proper and the only proper response to the experience of the world around us. And that would take away the notion that the discomfort, whether it be anxiety or depression or fear or hopelessness or any type of even feeling confused or aimless or unsteady or incomplete or disrupted or all the things that we sometimes equate, trouble sleeping or trouble being with other people. Maybe those are simply manifestations of what it is to be an average or even a normal human being. Now, the word that I've seen thrown around here is the word diseased. And instead of being diseased, we can call it diseased or out of the ease state. So here's the next question that gets aligned from this, which is, what if these were not conditions per se that came out after us and then debilitated us? What if these are actually responses and proper responses that we can make as people to the experience of the life as it occurs to us, such that we can alter those experiences rather than simply react or to respond negatively, responding in a way that leaves us feeling helpless or feeling disempowered or feeling disenfranchised? What if there was not actually a such thing as mental illness per se, that sort of, I have a condition and therefore I don't know how to do this or can't do that? What if there was just an indicator that when we were feeling uncomfortable with mental distress or mental imbalance or mental dis-ease, we were able to consider looking at the world in a different way, where empowerment could now take the space of the disempowerment that had been with us for a long time. So look, this is a short talk, and I know you might be saying, or your viewers might be saying, well, if you knew my condition, I mean, if you saw me, Dr. Fred, this is ludicrous, and you're not paying respect to the fact that I have a mental illness. If you saw me, you would see that I do. Or if you saw my sister or my mother-in-law, you would know that they were ill, because after all, look at them. And what I'm suggesting here is that once you make the statement that illness exists, in fact, it does exist based on the words that you describe it. So you seek out the evidence to support its ongoing perpetuation. What's possible here is that by getting the treatment, by making the declaration and then getting the treatment and getting the medication sometimes or whatever, there is an opportunity to perpetuate the condition into infinity. and to keep with the condition as a way, maybe, just maybe, as a way of easing the pain or easing the responsibility at times for being unable to do life the way you wish you could. And so, look, we're all unable to do life the way that we wish we could. So being depressed or being anxious or being nervous or even not wanting to get out of bed or not wanting to eat or not wanting to sleep or take care of ourselves, these are actually experiences that can be altered and aren't something that is a condition that succumbs us. So, we start looking at, all right, if that's the case, people will fight for their mental illness. Like they will. People, when I suggest to somebody that they're normal and they don't want to be seen as normal, they will fight. They will fight to assure me and to convince me that they're abnormal. Now, what's interesting about this is that each of us deep down knows that we're abnormal. Like I know that I'm different than everybody else on the planet. And I sometimes feel really lonely and like, why am I so different? Or why am I so abnormal? And what I'm pointing to here is, and in order for me to call myself normal or abnormal, I would have to have a pretty good definition of what normal is. Now, I've done a fair amount of studying in this, although some people have conjectured what normal is. It's never been put in terms that are reliable, that all of society and all of humans accept, not even close. There are simple explanations like what is normal? But generally nobody is able to give any kind of actual definition that works across cultures or even across neighborhoods or even across family. He's abnormal, she's abnormal, there's some possibility there, but maybe that's really just a function of the observer who, when they meet somebody who falls outside of their range of what they have decided is normal, then makes the audacious statement that that person is abnormal. And if there's prevailing agreement in society, it gets confirmed that that person is abnormal. And then they're treated as abnormal, they treat themselves as abnormal, and the whole thing gets a perpetuation that way. So in sort of as we wind down this talk, I want to say something, which is maybe, just maybe it's completely normal to experience knowing, to know to our to our core selves that we are abnormal. So knowing that we're abnormal could be a functional key component, a foundational component of what it means to be a normal human being. And once we start getting that each and every one of us knows we're abnormal, and that's just a foundational component of being human, we can start from there. We can start being compassionate with ourselves that there is no good sense of what normal or abnormal is. And I have found, Jim, that when I start treating people as if they are empowered and normal, even beyond what they accept themselves to be, new miracles can arise in their life. New miracles can arise in our relationship. And all of a sudden, things that were otherwise considered unavailable become naturally available as a function of people being treated as if they're empowered, as if they're actually normal in their abnormal sense of self. And what becomes available is that we become a brotherhood. We become a race. We become an entity called humanity that is really not sure at all what our next step should be, really not sure at all how to go through life, and really working with each other to take steps forward into life that, bring us a greater degree of satisfaction, bring us a greater degree of contribution, bring us a greater degree of validity. So maybe this is just all life. And maybe we are just as abnormal as each other. And maybe we're just as normal as each other, therefore. And maybe, just maybe, there's no real entity of a thing called mental illness. And we could start from there with ourselves and others. So as it turns out, Jim, you're not ill. I'm not ill. We start here, and together, these steps that we take make the whole thing worthwhile. I wish you and your listeners or your viewers the very best on this wild, fantastic journey that includes everything from just, exquisite miracles to just excruciating pain. And in truth, I love all of it. If there's a way to embrace it all, well, we get the experience of the whole shebang. And by saying that, by really embracing all of life, what's here is to love life for all that it is, bad and good, hard and easy, wonderful and terrible, just as it is. And definitely get that there is no abnormal here. There is no abnormal where you are. And certainly at the very bottom, there is no apparent or obvious inherent condition known as mental illness. Am I saying something correct? Not necessarily. I'm just saying something that is compelling enough to have us get that we can start today from a space of we don't know what's going on and it's time to move forward. In some ways, it's like blaming the log for burning. As it turns out, if you put a log in a fire, it's going to burn. And if it burns, it's actually a normal log. The same holds true. We put ourselves into difficult circumstances. They're here to be had, whether we like it or not, in relationships and viewpoints and beliefs and interactions with our world around us or with other people. And then we face those things without a manual, without a true, honest ability. We have some guidelines. Some of us use this guideline or that guideline. But in the end, all we have here is the ability to absorb what we're experiencing, to respond accordingly, and to get that we can learn from mistakes and we can learn from others. We can interact with others. And in the end, we can be of service to making the whole thing at least perceived as worthwhile. So that's really what I'm here to say. And I just have it that, I haven't always known that this was a revolutionary way to look at things. To me, it looks like it comes from when I was, 4 years old, and it just hasn't changed. And so I really, really want to say that, if this is interesting to you, I'm curious. I'd be more than happy to speak with you. My website is welcometohumanity.net, and that's the name of my brand. I'm Dr. Fred, so you can find me at Dr. Fred, Dr. Fred, at welcometohumanity.net. And I'm more than interested in carrying on a conversation, more than interested in learning what's there for you. I do personal coaching. I do speaking engagements. I do consultations. I do some expert witness work in the courtrooms, given that I have been a psychiatrist for over 30 years. And I really like making that difference in the world. And also, I've been a real ambassador for telehealth for all these years as well. So I'm coaching, people to really walk other people off the ledge of their own mental illness or their own sense of mental illness and bringing back empowerment where disempowerment had been residing. So really transforming the narrative of mental illness on a global scale is what I'm about. And it's been a deep pleasure being here with you and a deep pleasure being able to speak, to my truth, speak to the areas of life where I can make a difference as a healer, where I can make a difference as a mental health professional, where I can make a difference as a human being with another human. I mean, after all, there's not that much better than that. So thanks for the time, Jim. Thanks for the time on your show. And thanks for your viewers for paying any attention to anything I have to say or anyone else has to say, because what else is there to do in life? So with that, I'd like to say thanks and goodbye, and if there's any questions, I look forward to carrying on. Thank you, Jim.
Well, thank you, sir. And let me simply say that I really appreciate the points that you made there, because so many times we can just label someone and say they're weird, and that will self-justify us to be able to justify why we feel a way about someone. And like I tell people, so many times in life, I've been guilty of this. I've actually said or thought something about someone without knowing all the facts. And then later on, I find out, kind of like that song by Joe South in 1969, Walk a Mile in My Shoes. You find out the Paul Harvey side of the story of their life. And you go like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Mm-hmm. And I'm just thankful that many, many times in my life, I wasn't dumb enough to open my big mouth and say something. I may have thought it, but at least I didn't say it. So for that, I'm eternally thankful to the senior in the sky, as I call him. And she's been sitting there giggling at me the whole time. You see, I'm not weird. I'm very special, young lady.
Yes, you are.
Very unique too. But how did you appreciate what Dr. Fred shared with us, especially with your area of helping women come out of their shell and break out of this, box. Go ahead.
What he said about, what you're seeing and what you feel uncomfortable with may not be their problem or their issue. It could be yours.
Mhm.
And the perception of strength sports, women in sports in general, there is such like a disconnect when it comes to people like, you know, giving their advice to us. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
but this is what I'm doing. What is it? What are you doing? And it really brings a light to how the chatter, that outside
Mhm.
chatter can mentally challenge your
Yeah.
thoughts. And I really appreciate Dr. Fred saying that, because
Oh,
it's like, what you're saying outside is really, it really connects with your heart and can really like change a perspective of
yeah.
somebody.
I
So
like the great points that Dr. Fred. I love what you made there about, how easy it is for us to make the wrong decision. And I'm paraphrasing your words, and this is what I'm getting as I'm listening to you talk. And Dr. Fred, you've been in that industry for over 30 years, even though you were like me there for a little while. You were a college dropout, so we had that in common. And we get a reunion, I'll get you the memo, and you do the same. But most importantly, I appreciate the fact that you shared so many good points with us, because this was the reason why the Messages of Inspiration Hope show even got born. It was to help people, because back during that time, and I'm going to give you a chance to speak here, Dr. Fred. I just want to finish a comment here. Back during that time, we were all restricted to our house, and we saw some people that were migrating and putting themselves into solitary confinement.
Yep.
And that's why the show was born. And I really appreciate all the wonderful comments you made there. And any comments you'd like to make, I'd like to hear some more from your words of wisdom, sir.
Oh, well, it isn't really, it's funny. It's like, I don't really have much to say. I think really what we have is the opportunity to be with other people just like they are. That's really what's here. It's really that person over there that you're pretty sure is completely off center, like completely wrong, complete loser, completely lost, completely discardable, completely not worth it. That person right there, they really are. They're really worth paying attention to.
Yes.
And what if we could really get to even that person, like, who I'm talking about, right? Like that person, even those people, like, who I'm talking about, those people, those people.
yeah, I was one of them.
Exactly, right? We get pretty sure that people are not worth our time and energy. And that's a function of being us. That's not a function of them being them.
Mm-hmm.
And when we really start getting that, wouldn't it be just, look, a lot of the world's ills would instantly cure if we all could take on this mindset.
Mm-hmm.
That person
Yes.
over there says what they say because that's what they say they say. That's why they say what they say.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get that and really get that, even though they say what they say and you have all these views about what they say, if you can get that's really all that's going on there is there's a person there being a person. That's all they're really doing.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's a whole possibility of curiosity, wonder, and therefore miracles that comes inside of our inner. I am not any better than this than you. I'm just as functionally capable of judging, assessing, and evaluating that person and discarding them instantly as a result.
Sure.
It's not like I really rise above that. However, it's certainly possible to rise above that and to listen to someone as if they have something to say and something to be. And my goodness, that's what I think comes as a natural correlation to the talk that I just gave. Thank you for the time. I thought it went pretty well.
It was excellent. It really was. And, it really touched a lot of hearts out there, because so many people, get labeled unnecessarily, or someone will say, something about someone, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Exactly.
And, it's just really pitiful that we want to label people or put them in a box. And, everyone is very unique. They're very special. And what's really amazing, you get to know people, and you really get to know them, how unique they are, the special gifts and talents they have that you don't have.
That's right.
And if you appreciate that, and it's kind of like my mother when I was growing up. She used to tell me, the golden rule: always treat people like you want to be treated. And mother used to always tell me, if you can't say something nice about someone, don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
And I think it world will be a lot better off. And I tell people all the time, can you imagine what a wonderful world we would live in if everyone had the heart of the family dog
Yeah.
towards others? Oh, goodness.
No
That
kidding.
was, yeah. And if we do that, the one thing about love, the more love we share with others, the more we get.
Now,
And
Jim, how many viewers do you have typically in a day? How many people watch a stream?
most people catch it on their own schedule because we're live on Facebook and we share it with other locations, but we're getting ready to go to E360 TV. And the exposure there is going to be, that's going to start in November. That's going to be, you can pick a number because we're going to be live simultaneously on Facebook and on Roku and just a lot of different platforms, including Amazon Fire, Periscope, and Twitch, and all the mobile phones, Android TV. I mean, you
Okay.
name it. And
Right.
that's what this show has grown to. And all of these shows, all of the speakers will be associated with the new show because they are the foundation of why that show on the television, E360 streaming TV, came into existence.
Cool.
So therefore, it's going to be your fault. How about that?
Can I get a copy of what it is that I said? Will that come?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Yeah, you sure can. Yeah, that's one of the things that we do here. And it's because that's part of the process that we do. And you be able to, show your video that you spoke on this stage and be associated with because there's going to be under the same title, the Message of Inspiration Hope Show on E360 TV. Just we'll be live streaming at the same time, Monday through Friday. And we're looking forward to that. We really are.
Okay.
And like I say, again, it's great people like you, Dr. Fred and Larnie, having you on the show. You guys are the stars of the show.
Thank you.
And it's what made the show. It really was.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you.
My
Yeah,
intelligence,
thanks for having
my
me.
intelligence runs out after about 5 or 10
Thank
seconds.
you. I have to go. I have something at the top of the hour.
Sure.
Marty,
You
nice
bet.
to meet you.
Nice meeting you too.
Okay. Dr. Fred, thank you again. We're getting ready to close the show. So you carry on. Have a great day. Thank you again, sir.
My pleasure, and thank you, and thanks for chasing me down, and I appreciate it all.
Thank you. We'll see you. We'll see you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. And I tell you right now, that was a wonderful show. I really like your message to the ladies because a lot of ladies out there are going to resonate with you. They're going to say, hey, she's my kind of gal,
Yes.
And you guys out there, if you try to power lift a young lady and she can eat your lunch, dial a prayer, I was going to ask you if you don't mind sharing about how much weight can you lift being a power lifter?
Well, my highest, so powerlifting is 3 events, so squat, bench, deadlift. So yesterday I just squatted 240 pounds. My bench is my weakest, but it was 175 was my highest, and my deadlift, my highest was 360 pounds.
Wow, that's
So
amazing.
I'm shooting for 400 for that, shooting for 300 for my squat, and I want to break at least 200 for my bench. So I have big numbers in my head.
Yeah, for a little Asian girl, my goodness gracious.
What can I
tell you.
say? I have
Yeah.
big goals, and not just
Yeah.
with my business, but with my powerlifting as well.
I can lift 1,000 pounds, but if I do it in increments, it takes me a week or two. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about out of time. We've had a lot of fun today. And most importantly, thank you so much for tuning in. And Larnie, I know you're going to love this. That goes on. As we get ready to close the show, we like to wish people that's tuning in, whether you're watching live or you're watching on the replay, if it's your birthday today, happy birthday to you. We want to
Yeah.
wish you a very happy birthday. And Larnie and I, we voted on this. If it is your birthday, remember, all birthday cakes and the special desserts that you love, they are health food. So be sure and treat yourself. Don't cheat yourself.
That's right.
Have a wonderful day. And Larnie, on behalf of Dr. Fred and myself, Larnie, thank you so much, and give everyone a chance to wave goodbye. And thank you for tuning in. Have a blessed day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.